Good morning and welcome to our first full safari day. It was very chilly until that sun come up, so them scarves were needed. Mike is our game driver and we're just about to drive out of the boundary to our lodge. Either side and along the floor of this fence is electric wire to keep out some of the bigger animals like elephants. And straight off the bat we got a couple of cute impalas. We were given a hot water bottle each and a couple of blankets. There are our bottles that we were given yesterday. And here's Laura keeping very warm. Looks very cozy. We sat around for about 10 minutes because Mike could hear some animals. We had no idea what animals they were. He wouldn't tell us because we all had to be quiet. But as you can see in the distance, they were in fact hyenas. We saw hyenas for the first time. It was so surreal to see these guys in person. Their little gallop makes me laugh. But a fun fact, in the film Lion King, these scrounge off the lions. However, in real life, it's the other way round. These make the kill and the lions come and take the food. All this happened right outside our lodge. First the impalas, 5 minutes later the hyenas. So the safari hadn't even got going yet and we'd already seen some incredible animals. Mike kindly pointed out that the mountains are on fire. Naturally, we all got a bit worried, but as you can tell, this incredible sunrise does look like the mountains are on fire a little. I have no idea how Mike has the ability to spot things from a distance, but he managed to see this woodpecker. Now, I've never seen a woodpecker before. I expected it to be a lot bigger, but this was cool. Now, this took me by surprise. This is an impala calling. Give it a listen. We saw our first elephant of the day. I know this might not look much to you guys, but I loved this the whole safari. Just driving along on a road that looked like it had no end. Either side, animals everywhere. So peaceful, you couldn't hear anything other than animals calling. I just absolutely loved it, and every time I watch a clip like this, it just chills me out. And this is exactly what I mean. We just come across a bunch of impalas. Now this animal was probably the cutest animal we come across on the whole safari. It's called a Jackmo, something like that. Just chilling in the sun by the side of the road, sunbathing. We must have disturbed the little fella because he ran across the road, found another spot, this time in the shade, and had a little lay down. As you can see, Mike has turned the truck off and turned round to have a chat with us. When we see a new animal, he would give us a lot of information on what we're seeing, what they do, who's the predator, who's not, etc. He gave a lot of information and he is very well trained. He has so much knowledge. No matter what question we have for him, he had the answers, and in his words, no question is a silly question. See you later, mate. We went down the right road at the right time because we were lucky enough to bump into a herd of buffalo. Now, Mike was telling us that these are very rare. These were the first rare animals that we saw on this safari. There were so many of them. They were quite scary looking, I can't lie, eyeing us up. But they were actually quite timid and quite afraid of us. They kept their distance, and when we got a bit closer, they did end up moving. But they were a very cool animal to see. Very big, very strong, and the horns on them were quite scary. But look at them crossing the road. There were so many of them. They just kept coming and coming. No word of a lie, this went on for about 10 minutes. Mike said there was a herd of about 200 to 300 of them. As we moved down the road and closer to the buffalo, you can see them having a little stare at us. Them horns are so impressive. Look at the shape on them, and they were huge. They were about a meter and a half apart. And then we find ourselves some more buffalo crossing. There was just endless amounts of buffalo. Got some baby ones in there. But yeah, they were awesome to see. Back on the road again. We saw our first giraffe of the morning. And it's quite funny how their heads just poke up above the branches. And they're just looking into the distance, wondering what the hell's going on. But they're such amazing creatures. Couldn't believe how big they were. Just look at him. Just minding his own business, going about his morning. Back on the move, and look at that sunshine. Once the sun did rise, it really did warm up. Even though it was their winter, as you can see, Mike is still wearing his hat and his woolly jumper. It got very hot, and during the day, we actually sunbathed around the pool. On our own, we were the only ones, pretty much. Yeah, it got very warm. It was so nice. And again, we're just driving along, and we bumped into an elephant. It's so surreal how we can be 10, 20 yards from these animals in the wild. Look at the tusks on it. It's crazy. Watch out, guys, coming through. I didn't think it was going to move for a second. We've seen many skylines over the years, whether it was Vegas, Paris, New York, Orlando. Nothing quite beats this one. You got trees, mountains, and so many giraffes. So surreal. I keep saying it, but it really is. However, we was just about to find out why they are all looking in one direction. Quite sad, but the circle of life. Just doing a little bit of off-roading. I think on this occasion, it's best I let Mike explain why we are where we are right now.
Those two lionesses that we saw yesterday, they are killing a baby giraffe, but unfortunately we're going to allow it to share with the way to understand by that one. All these giraffes are here.
As Mike explained, last night we bumped into two lionesses hunting. They weren't successful last night, but this morning they were. They've hunted down and killed a baby giraffe, hence why these giraffes right here are looking on, because obviously it's their baby. As we approach the lions, you can see there's one truck there on the right and one also round to the left. Mike's just battering his way through these bushes to try and get a good vantage point. Now the other two trucks' angle for their view were a lot better than ours, but as I zoom in you can see the lions eating. Now these were some big cats and they kept checking over their shoulder at the giraffes. As she turns round you can see all the blood around her chops. Now this was sad to watch. The giraffes kept creeping closer and closer and closer, I assume to make sure it was their baby. They were doing this for about 20-30 minutes and this was probably as close as they got, and then in the end they just turned around and went on their way. There was nothing they could do. At first we wanted to pet these lionesses, but look at the way they look up and just stare at you. It's so intimidating. They would be eating on their prey and then every now and again one of them or both of them would look up, look around, make sure everything's alright, and then tuck right in again. Look at the way it's just picking up and throwing that giraffe's head around. Mike moved us round a little to get a better angle. You can see the remains of the giraffe and you could hear the lions chewing and biting through the bones of the giraffe. After about half an hour it was time to move on, as there was a big queue of trucks waiting for their turn to have a look. You're not allowed more than 3 trucks at a time around something like this. Here's a truck bombing towards the lionesses and we are back on the road again. I'm not sure we're going to see anything else this morning that's going to top watching lionesses feast on their prey. However, listening to Mike talk about the wild and talk about different animals just blows my mind. His knowledge is crazy. He knows everything about anything. It's definitely not that cold anymore, but she looks comfy and crazy. Pumbaa! This is the first time we have seen some warthogs together. And they weren't running, just chilling out. Change of driver alert! Mike dropped us off at the airstrip where this guy was waiting for us, and he is taking us to our bush breakfast. Now this was a prepaid booking before our trip. We paid for it when we paid for the safari. It was an extra, and basically it's exactly what it says on the tin. It is a bush breakfast. We're having our breakfast in the bush rather than at our lodge, and this is going to be one hell of an experience. Our lodge has its own designated area in the bush. As we drive in, you can see the truck for the workers. There's our guy ready to welcome us. And as you can see, our table's set up. The food's all ready. There's like a pizza oven barbecue type thing. All for us. Just us two. This morning, we are getting our very own VIP treatment. Look at all this food, honestly. This is just for us, by the way. No one else. Our table's all set up. There's our food on the side already. We got fruit, we got cooked food. Everything we want, we can have. And where them two are going is to the toilet, which I'll show you in a second. This is the bush toilet. Have a look at this. So you got like some privacy, I suppose. There's your sink. There's the wild. And there is the toilet. At least it's a real toilet, I suppose. I much prefer this view from the toilet. Going back to the table, look at this food, look at this setup. Oh, incredible. She's still got her jumper on, but we move. The best cooked breakfast and fruit platter you will ever see. Oh, it was so good. Whilst we were finishing our breakfast, Mike turned up. He said he was there to take us back, but I think he knew there was going to be so much food left over. He ended up having some himself, but now we're heading back to the lodge. There is absolutely no way this girl is still cold. And she knows it. Look at that smile. Just at the bottom of that mountain are some white umbrellas. That is where our main pool is at our lodge. And just in front of that, in the wild, is a massive watering hole, which apparently so many animals go to. We back, baby. We got back to our lodge and had a quick change. Laura's tripping up the path. And now we're heading down to the swimming pool, hopefully to find some animals by the watering hole. I couldn't wait, so I got a jog on. The pool or the gym? I love this walkway down to the swimming pool. It just opens up. There's plenty of tables to have your lunch on, plenty of sunbeds, and the best thing about it is we were the only ones here. It was their winter, but for us, that was pretty much the English summer. It was still so warm. A bit of plane spotting in South Africa. This was actually the plane we got from Johannesburg to Madikwe. It was tiny. It had Jurassic Park vibes down to a T. But we got here. Beer, sunbathing, and one hell of a view. Our first animal has joined us at the watering hole. What a view. The way it just strolls up there, drinks the water. God, this is nature right here. I've seen all this on TV before, but seeing it in real life, the way it dunks its trunk in the water, then gives itself a drink, is so cool and so clever. After watching the elephant for about 30 minutes, a blue wildebeest decided to turn up as the elephant was leaving. And then our main man Pumbaa turned up for a drink. And before we knew it, it was lunchtime. We actually ate lunch in front of the other watering hole at the lodge. We had a meat and cheese board to share with a fruit bowl each for dessert. And then we were blown away by this incredible sight. 12 elephants with a few babies having a drink right in front of my eyes. Something I thought I'd never see. Once we had lunch, we then went back to the swimming pool and they were there again. This time we were even closer. They were just leaving. But look at this. Once I woke up from what seemed to be a dream, seeing all those elephants like 10 feet away from me, I realised after all this food I'm eating, I'm going to be a fat slob if I don't get my butt in this gym. This gym was so unique, it was so small, it was like a cabin. I was the only one in there, a couple of bikes, a treadmill, some weights, and an amazing view. But there's something else I do want to show you in this gym. The toilet. Seems like a normal toilet, then bam, look at this view. Imagine sitting there doing your business while them elephants walk past. Here's proof I didn't just walk in and walk out. I am sweating my tits off. But now it's time to go back to the lodge, get changed, and go to our evening drive. And it's time for our evening drive. I know what you're thinking. Short sleeves, shorts, sunglasses, with a jumper and a scarf around my neck. That's just how the weather changes at night here. We kicked off our evening drive with a pair of giraffes having a race. The one on the left won by a neck. Hey, the mum coming to find her baby. We didn't want to repeat what happened this morning. And then all the clan come together and headed off into the sunset. Mike took us back to the spot from this morning where we saw the lionesses. They must have been full as they were very snoozy, but also protecting the remains of the food. When they look like this, they look so approachable and strokeable. But look at this one just laying on its back, chilling out, catching some rays. We didn't stick around with the lionesses as there was a big queue again of trucks waiting to see them. So we moved on, and this is what we found. Look at all these giraffes. So cool. You can kind of imagine them having a conversation with each other. But apparently, Mike was saying, they make no noise. He's never known them to make any noise. So they can't communicate that way. We ran into what I thought was a meerkat, but Mike quickly corrected me, and it's actually a mongoose. Now, I've never seen one of these before. We found ourselves right on the border of the reserve. These fences right here are to keep the animals in, but also to keep poachers out. And still to this day, I have no idea how Mike spotted this animal from a distance. But we found a leopard. The reason this leopard has a collar around it is because it's the only female one on the reserve. It has nothing to do with tracking it or capturing it. All it is to simply monitor it, make sure it's healthy, make sure it's alive. And if it's pregnant, then they'll know. Because it's the only female one on the reserve, they really have to look after it. Mike said we were extremely lucky to spot her. She is very, very rare to see. And I can see why. She is gorgeous, the way she moves. And she's literally camouflaged. You cannot see her. It takes you a second to find her. She is a thing of beauty. Honestly, amazing. This time we're having our sunset drink somewhere a little more familiar and also with a lot more human company. We are back where we had our bush breakfast for some drinks, for some snacks, and just to socialise. It wasn't long until the sun went down and we headed back to the lodge. However, we thought our night was over, but we were in for a big surprise. We were told that everyone from every part of the lodge, because there's 3 areas, there's a kids area or a family area, There's our private adult only area and then this big main area. We were told everyone from all three lodges, all three areas, were meeting up and having a dinner together. We had absolutely no idea what to expect, but first impressions was wow. This must have taken them so long to set up. Each truck had their own table, so we were sat with the people we was on the drives with, and also Mike, our driver, sat with us. There was entertainment, it was a big buffet, all the staff got up and sang. It was so good, and they went above and beyond with this. And that brings us to the end of the day. What an incredible day, and I'm going to leave you with some singing and dancing.
Spot on the end.